Hello, everybody. My name is Paige Corley, and I am from Salt Lake County Aging and Adult Services. And I am here to actually do the last installment on the Brain Health Workshop. It's been a long time coming, I know, but I am excited to finally do this. And we're talking about how to boost your brain function and keep your brain healthy. There have been other recordings on this subject. I'm going to get into that in just a few minutes. But just to kind of give you an idea of what I'm going to be talking about in this final installment of the series, is I'm talking to you about cognitive health. And as we age, we do experience a normal and it's a natural decline in uh, our cognitive abilities and our cognition. And so it's a natural decline. It's nice and gradual. But some people do experience abnormal changes in their cognition, which can lead to mild cognitive impairment and even dementia. And so you can see on the slide, we talk about how, there are changes that go on that you might be aware of, but they're slight. Mild cognitive impairment is where you really do start to experience cognitive decline, and your friends and family and those close to you might notice it, but you're still able to be a person, activities of daily living, no problem. It's when we kind of dip into the dementia, and there's lots of different types of dementia, where it starts to affect our activities of daily living. And so this series is talking about how we can bolster our brain health so that we can increase our cognitive reserve so that we can mitigate and postpone any cognitive decline. And I like to use the analogy of our brain being like a car. And if we have a car and we put gas in it that is full of elements that are going to clog the engine and muck up all the gears and corrode the wires and the tubes, that car is going to eventually not run very well and maybe even break down. But if we put nice clean gas into our car, one that doesn't have a lot of impurities, our car is going to run better for longer, because again, all those gears don't get kind of glued up with gunk, for lack of a better way of saying it. And even our car, as it ages, we need to be even more concerned with putting good gas in our car to make sure that, because it's aging, it's more susceptible to decline, to rust, to impurities. We want to make sure that we're even more thoughtful about what we put into our car. And you can see that on the slide, that the more good we do for our brains, the better fuel we give our brains, the more cognitive reserve we have, and the more resistant our brain is to that decline. And then we experience that normal and natural decline in cognitive health, which really shouldn't affect our activities of daily living and our ability to live independently. So here are the 6 steps for brain health. And so far I have done videos on exercise, nutrition, sleep, and stress. And I actually did an introductory video as well. So this is actually the 6th video that I've done. So I did an introduction video, I did one on exercise, one on nutrition, one on sleep, and one on stress. And this is the final video that I'm doing on community and novelty. So if you're like, hey, I want to listen to the other ones, the YouTube channel that you're on right now with Aging and Adult Services through Salt Lake County, that's where all the videos are located. So you're welcome to look those up. You can look at them before this video. Otherwise, I'm going to cover the last 2 in this final video, and they are, again, community and novelty. So again, these are things that we can do to our brain that helps it function longer. It's a nice, clean fuel that we're putting into our brain. to make sure that it functions longer. And the good news is community is one of those things. So community is our friends. Community can be our organizations that we're involved in. Anything that can give us a little bit more contact with other people, to give us a sense of belonging. And you can see the quote on the slide here. When people are lonely, their risk of dementia rises by as much as 40%. Loneliness, social isolation was really highlighted during the COVID pandemic. We had a lot of people who were isolated for fear that they were going to contract COVID. And even though they may not have contracted COVID, they still experienced a very big decline in their health because of the lack of social interaction. So let's talk about that for a bit. Why does social interaction, why is it so important? Why are friends and community so important? And one of the reasons is it keeps our brain active. And I usually don't put a lot of copy on my slides, but I thought this was interesting because I didn't really even realize it until I read it. But when we're having just a simple conversation with a friend, we're listening, hopefully, right? Hopefully we actually are listening in our conversations. We're interpreting what they're saying and we're responding. So there's a lot going on with our brains. We're hearing, we're thinking, and then we're responding. We have to remember names and stories, and we have shared experiences with our friends that again bolsters our brain. We have to learn to read emotions and social cues. So when we're out with a friend and maybe they're upset about something, our ability to react in a way that supports them and maybe gives them ideas of how they might rectify that situation that's causing them issue. We also learn new perspective, which is a big thing these days. Is having a conversation with someone that you might disagree with and being open-minded to what they're saying. That promotes our brain to think. I'm not saying that you have to adopt their thoughts, but the ability to at least understand what they're saying helps our brain health. And then we might learn new information, right? We might have a conversation with somebody and they might be talking about, I don't know, the universe and planets or black holes. And you're like, wow, I didn't know about that. Or maybe it's a book that talks about a certain historic reality that went on. Wow, that's interesting, right? So you're learning new information. So it's not just a friendship, it's also what we're kind of getting from those conversations, from those experiences. Community also helps to support our well-being. So having those shared experiences. Sometimes it's not about talking. It's about doing something with somebody, walking through the park with them or the group. And then later you can say, remember when we went to the park that one time and there was those people at the medieval festival and how interesting it was to watch them in their costumes or whatever it might be. Go with a friend and walk through Liberty Park. You're going to get shared experiences, right? Any park. Walk through the mall. You're going to have an experience. Going and watching a movie. That's an experience. But more so, and that's a big part of it, but also, our friendships kind of support our well-being because we can share our emotions. And sometimes that might even be sharing our sadness. Part of aging is loss, right? We're losing friends, we're losing spouses, we're losing pets. And being able to express that and have somebody show you empathy and care, that helps us feel better. So it's not always just about being happy with our friends, it's being real with our friends, being authentic with what we're experiencing. Um, so a share, I know it says sharing job here. I think it means what I meant to say was sharing joy, sharing joy. So we can express our fears, we can express our sadness, but we can also share our joy, things that are going on that are bringing us happiness, because then our friend might be able to experience that as well. So community helps support our well-being, which is really good for our brain because if you listen to the video on stress, you'll see that anything we can do to manage our stress really helps our brains out. Community can encourage healthy habits. Not always. As I'm writing this, I'm thinking, you could be doing things with your friends and with your community that actually encourages unhealthy habits. But let's talk about community sharing, creating healthy habits. And of course, I'm thinking about things like you walk together, you exercise together, sharing a meal together, right? Nourishing your body. Hopefully, that meal is somewhat healthy. But even if it isn't, right? Gardening, going out, being outside in your yard, playing a sport together. I know pickleball is big right now, but there's lots of sports. Walking is a sport, tennis is a sport, bowling is a sport, pool, billiards is a sport, right? Any of those kind of things that you can share with somebody. Simply playing a board game. That's positive. You might laugh, you might have fun. Watching a funny movie, as I said, it's not always about verbalizing things with your friends. It's shared experience. So going and watching a funny movie and laughing together, that's a healthy habit. Laughter is very good for us. So a lot of times when we engage with our community, it is encouraging healthy habits. It can help us do things that again are healthy for our bodies and our brains. Um, a big part of community many times is gives us a sense of purpose. And again, this is a point that's been made quite a bit, especially with the older adult population, is finding something that makes you come home at the end of the day and say, I did something that I value, right? That meant something to me. For example, volunteering. That is something that can give a person a great sense of purpose. Salt Lake County, Salt Lake County in general, but Salt Lake County Aging and Adult Services, we have a lot of opportunities for volunteers. You could be a Meals on Wheels driver for one route, one day a week, or 1 month a week. You could teach one of the health promotion classes that we offer. You could work or volunteer part time at one of our senior centers. So our volunteering is very light, where you might do an hour a week for 6 weeks, or it might be more of a routine in your life where you're going to a senior center Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Monday, Tuesday, Thursday from 8 to 4, and you're going to work at the front desk, right? There's all sorts of ways that you can use volunteering, but you help people. Maybe you volunteer at a local animal shelter. Maybe you're not a people person, but you're an animal person. That's a great way to, come home and be like, I helped. I pet puppies. I pet kittens. I pet a bunny. I cleaned their cage. I made their living space more livable when they're in this in between uh, phase in their life, living in a cage at a animal shelter. You can make them have a little bit of comfort. You can come home and be like, all right, I did something today. This is great. Faith-based organizations always looking for people to volunteer to help facilitate what they're doing on a weekly basis. So volunteering is a great way to get a sense of purpose, but so is just spending time with your friends. Getting out, having some sort of routine. So that's one of the things that you have to think about is what gives me a sense of purpose? What could I do during the day that makes me feel good about how I spent my time? And that's very personal. But that's what community can bring to us. And that's what can help bolster our brain health and that cognitive reserve. So the last thing on the list here is novelty. And our brains love something new. And it's the reason I put these together is novelty and community are pretty closely intersected, or as I like to say, they're braided together. So usually when you're doing one, you're inadvertently doing the other. So if you get together with friends and you all decide that you're going to take a pottery class, well, you're getting a twofer on that one, right? So you're getting community, but you're also learning something new. So our brains love new information. The quote, individuals with high levels of participation in novel or new activities over the life course are less likely to clinically demonstrate cognitive impairments. So this means that we want to continue our learning as we age. And I think it's really easy for us as we age to fall into this sense of, oh, I don't want to learn anymore. Learning is frustrating. Learning takes effort. Um, Making new friends is novelty. And it's hard. It's hard to make new friends. I think when we're younger, we don't, it's part of the deal. We're expected to have to do this. Change is part of the deal. And then we get to a certain age where we're like, I don't want to do that anymore. I'm too old for this. We've heard that. That's type of ageism, actually. So we want to not do that. We want to learn new things. And I think people are confused sometimes by what is novel, what's new. We've heard some things, and I thought there were some good suggestions here. So I think a lot of us have heard learning a new language. But this is for real, right? Nowadays, there's more ways that you can learn a new language, whether it's an app on your phone or a YouTube video or going to an actual physical class. Why would you want to learn a new language? I don't know. Maybe there's somebody in your life that speaks a different language. Maybe you want to be a pen pal with somebody. But when we learn a new language, it builds memory, attention, and problem solving, right? Because we're having to pay attention to learning that new language. And a lot of times it's frustrating. It's hard to learn a new language. We have to tax our brain, and that's okay. That's good. Remember that learning a new language, and I'm going to skip down on these bullet points a little bit, learning new technology is like learning a new language. So if you're like, man, I need to learn my smartphone, I really want to be able to communicate with my kids or grandkids or my friends, and so I need to take a class in how to use my smartphone. That's like learning a new language. That's why it's difficult. I interact with older adults who are like, I can't believe I can't learn this smartphone. I'm dumb, or I should be able to learn this quicker. No, sorry. It's a new language. It takes practice. And learning new technology can be super helpful in that if you learn how to use your smartphone, you could learn how to learn a new language through an app on your smartphone, like Duolingo. That's an app on your phone. Or you can learn how to use Zoom and then or FaceTime, and then you could actually see the person you're talking to, which is wonderful for people who don't live in your vicinity. You can learn to play a new musical instrument, right? Piano or a guitar that we have to be coordinated to learn those. We have to use our fingers. We have to read notes, transfer them in our brain, and have them come out our hands. That's such a great way to use our brains. So think back. What was that instrument that you wanted to learn as a kid? Maybe it's the recorder. Remember the recorder? Maybe it's that simple yet effective. So think back to a musical instrument you might want to learn. Reading is a form of novelty because you're reading new books. Create your own book club. Create it with friends in your neighborhood. Create it with your family. Create it with somebody online after you've learned how to use WebEx or Zoom. Maybe you can't, do a book club with them. Or there's plenty of book clubs that you can join at the senior centers. They have book clubs. Libraries have book clubs. So they're out there in our community already. Maybe you learn how to cook something new. You've always wanted to learn how to bake, or you've always wanted to learn how to cook with just salt, pepper, and olive oil, right? And you're like, what can I cook that tastes good? Take a cooking class. That can be in person or online. Learning a new craft, knitting or painting, even if you're like, oh, I'm not good at painting, who cares? Go and take a class. The senior centers offer a lot of classes on painting, woodworking, knitting, quilting. Even some of the senior centers have pottery, and I'm not limiting to senior centers. There's also art places around that you can go to. Learning a new game with strategy like chess or bridge or what I learned the other day, bunco, right? I mean, you have to learn what am I supposed to do? How does this game work? Again, your brain is interpreting this information, just making it think a little bit more. And go to a dance class, line dancing. Learn line dancing. Go to an exercise class like Tai Chi or yoga or even weightlifting. If it's new to you, it's going to make your brain think a little bit more. We're going to bolster that cognitive reserve. And what makes when you're learning something new, why it's so important is it requires you to focus and practice. And it involves trial and error. And over, like Tai Chi, you could take the same Tai Chi class 20 times, and each time you're going to get something new. You're going to learn some new nuanced move with Tai Chi. Uh, Unfortunately, when we learn, a lot of times we're frustrated. And I think that's why a lot of older adults are like, I'm tired of learning. I've been learning my whole life and I just want to not learn anymore because it's frustrating. Yeah, you need to still experience that frustration, but it needs to be in manageable chunks, right? We do need to always look at getting out of our comfort zone. As we age, we can choose it a little bit more sometimes. And I think these are opportunities where you can. Challenge is where our brain is nurtured. Challenge, what kills us makes us stronger. It doesn't have to be that extreme, but it's that same idea of I always need to be challenging, not always, but I need to be challenging myself on a regular basis so that my brain can continue to be healthy. There's a lot for those of you who are like, look, I can't get out of the house. This is hard. If you have the ability to get online, again, maybe that's part of your novelty is learning to get online. There are programs that make getting the internet to your house affordable. And then there are programs where you can get tablets or smartphones, and that those are affordable. And once you have that, then you really open to a lot of continuing education available to you online. So the University of Utah has the Osher Institute, and the University of Utah actually has in-person classes for older adults at very low cost, and Osher does as well, and that's online. So you can be in the comfort of your own home. You don't have to go anywhere, and you can still be learning. And Osher and University of Utah has so many classes that you can take. They can be academic classes. Maybe you never learned biology really great. Here's your opportunity. You never got algebra, right? Maybe you want to learn algebra when you're older. That's great. It's a great thing for your brain. And you can do that through University of Utah, or YouTube has plenty of channels on it that are geared towards online learning. There are TED Talks where you can just listen and learn new things, learn new concepts or new perspectives. Some are even specifically about biology or cell division, those kind of things. Khan Academy, KAHN, is on YouTube. They have a ton of tutorials on different topics. So when I was going through school, gosh, this was 10 years ago, and I was having to do some biology, and I didn't do great in biology in college, so I didn't know some of the concepts, and I typed it in, and Khan Academy, sure enough, had online tutorials, and they were digestible, they were understandable, and it was interesting, and I learned right there on my computer in my own home. And again, Duolingo, that's a way that we can learn another language right there on our phones or on our computers. Also, Salt Lake County, I'm going to toot the horn of Salt Lake County over and over again, but Aging and Adult Services, we have our YouTube channel. On our YouTube channel, we have educational programming, we have exercise programming, we have videos of people trips abroad so you can learn about what they did and what's over in New Zealand and how it looks over there. Please get on the Salt Lake County YouTube channel. I'm assuming that you have because you found this video. But there's a lot more on that video. We've had our YouTube channel up and running before COVID, but during COVID, that's when it really exploded, and we have a ton of content on there. So please, please, please check it out for those of you who are not able to get out of your house, or those of you who want to do both in person and online. So again, learning is super important. So just to review, there are 6 major areas that we can focus on to build our cognitive reserve to help maintain our brain health as we age. Those 6 things are exercise. That's my favorite. Nutrition, very close second for me as well. Sleep. We've all heard now how important sleep is for us and also how difficult it is to achieve sometimes. But if you exercise and you eat healthy, it's easier. Stress and stress management, great for brain health. And then, as I just went over, community and novelty. So this video concludes this series. I apologize for it taking me so long to get this last installment out to you, but I really appreciate you listening. Here's my information. Again, my name is Paige Corley. I'm the Health Promotion Manager for in Aging and Adult Services. My phone number is 385-468-3083, and my email is pcorley@saltlakecounty.gov. I love to answer questions, have conversations, can be over email. You can call me. I love having the voice conversations as well. So please reach out if you have any clarifications to what I've talked about today. I would love to hear from you. Thank you very much for listening.